What's a privilege that most people don't realize is a privilege? Having a family that loves you. I grew up in a pretty loving family. It was somewhat dysfunctional, to be sure, but my mother loves me as does my sister. So did my grandparents. We were always a close family, and we helped each other when possible. We were always supportive too. I went to school with people whose parents couldn't have given a fuck less about them. I mean straight up, just didn't give a shit if their kids lived or died. If your parents actively tried to keep you off drugs and off the streets, and were emotionally supportive and not abusive, count your blessings. It's a fucked up world we live in, and plenty of people are trying to navigate it completely alone. Hey, thanks for understanding. As someone who came from a fucked up family, and has plenty of issues resulting from it, I couldn't believe that there are people who actually love their families, and vice versa, and the majority of these people are utterly incapable of understanding that shitty parents and families exist. I tried telling people that I don't talk to my parents because they were abusive, and they would say, "But surely they love you. Why don't you talk to them?" Some people can't fathom that because they've not lived it. I've had a shitty mom and had the same thing said to me, but I always answer with, "I'm not sure if she loved me or hated my dad more." I straddle the fence with that question even till this day, and she's been gone since I was 17. So I don't know. My mother was pretty unambiguous about how much she hated both me and my dad. I was the save the marriage, unwanted child. Edit, thanks for all of the love. I just want you all to know that I'm okay. I have my mother-in-law and my best friend's mom as second mothers to me, who are kind and loving and genuinely enjoy spending time with me just like I enjoy spending time with them. I also have a kick stepmom, though she's not really motherly to me, more of a friend. My life is so much better without my egg donor in my life, and I want you all to know that if you're struggling, you're not alone. Don't be afraid to speak out about your experiences, and don't be afraid to cut your parents out of your life. Don't accept pressure for you to make up with your abusive family. You know what you're doing, and you're not wrong. Hugs and love to anyone who needs to hear it. What I learned from coronavirus was that people actually care if their parents, grandparents die. Must have had loving childhoods, can't relate. Or just having a stable home situation. I grew up in a stable home, with my parents caring a lot about us, and not much issues with regards to family. My girlfriend, however, grew up in a family that was always fighting with each other. So even though her parents loved her, she hated being home, since it was always hectic. Even now she has poor relations with her parents and the rest of her family, because the conversation in her family is always about family issues. Really puts into perspective how different a home situation can be, even when the home itself isn't that bad. You are so right. I used to get mad as a teen as I thought that my parents were always down my neck and in my business. As an adult, I realized that they were actually quite hands-off in some ways, but making sure we didn't get into trouble and stayed away from kids that may not be a good influence. My very small middle school had quite a few kids experimenting with sex at 11 to 12, hard drugs, and overall losing their focus on life and other undesirable paths. One girl overdosed on took too damn much LSD, another became pregnant, another was very possibly roped into sex work at 13. Very appreciative that my parents always checked the parents of my friends at that age and walked me to the door to say hi to everyone, rather than taking the easy path of "It's Friday, adios, see you Monday" before school. They were always there for support, love, questions, and healthy discipline. Sleeping through the night. Didn't think of this one at first, but knowing how difficult life is when you don't get enough sleep, I couldn't agree more. I actually knew a guy that got fatal insomnia in high school. I couldn't imagine having it. It's really hard on the body and the mind to be wired like that. Hope that dude is in a better state now. I'm fortunate that I'm not stressed out at night these days, But when there were academic or intellectual, sometimes emotional stresses, I'd have the most lucid dreams, nightmares, and it felt too real to want to go back there to sleep. I'm vibing, for now. Well, I think that the guy is dead. I haven't seen him in 7 years, and fatal insomnia kills in about 1 to 2 years. There are drugs you can use to prolong it, but eventually it catches up with you. My daughter slept through the night for the first time in her 10 months of life the other night. Between the last trimester of pregnancy and her getting up 2-3x or more a night, I haven't had more than 4 hours of consecutive sleep in a year. But she slept through the night, and after I made sure she was still alive, I almost cried because I felt so good. Yay, she's finally getting settled into a routine. I have triplets who were born early at 27 weeks. I remember being in the NICU where 2 of the 3 kids had coded that day because of premature lungs. They were on oscillators and had a chest tube because they both had a hole in their lung. I was sitting by their bedside at 3 a.m. wishing I was awake because my kids were crying and I was up with newborn triplets. Instead, I was sitting by the bedside wondering if and how long they were going to live. All 3 had chronic lung disease. They are 6 now. 2 of them came home with a ventilator and a trach at my house for the first few years. 1 still has a trach, and we have to be up weird hours because we don't have night nursing 7 days a week. I know a thing or two about a lack of sleep and starting off the work week with 4 hours of sleep the Saturday night and Sunday night before Monday morning. So true. You really don't notice how it impacts you until you can't do it anymore. Having a bed. When I was ages 8 to 11, my siblings and I had to sleep on the floor because we lived in a tiny 1-bedroom apartment. The only bed belonged to my grandfather, the 70-year-old man, and the couch went to my mother, the woman with severe back problems. The rest of us had to sleep on blankets and pillows. I remember turning 12 and finally getting to sleep in my own bed after 3 years of not having one. It was euphoria. My sons are extremely tall for their age, and we recently had to buy them extra long twin bed frames and mattresses. Their old mattress were literally 2 years old and in near perfect condition. I asked around and wound up giving them frames, mattress, foundations to a single mother with 2 young kids. I was just happy to get the mattresses out of my basement. Age offered me $50 for them, but I refused because she obviously didn't have the money to spare, and she was saving me a few bucks because if I took them to the local dump it would have cost me $10 each to get rid of them. She started crying and said her kids had never slept in a real bed. Kinda makes me feel bad as a person who has a bed but chooses to sleep on the floor. Don't feel bad about that. The floor can be genuinely comfortable when you choose to lay on it. It's like a fun change of pace. It just sucks when you don't have a choice. Agree. I sometimes sleep on the floor to fix my back. As a kid I would think sleeping on the floor with siblings was fun, some of my fondest memories. Brew when periods give you back pain, the floor is a blessing. The hardness of that floor plus the coldness during a hot flash is about as heavenly as a floor gets. Another privilege. When your own body isn't trying to kill you. Women's health is such a mess, and a lot of male doctors are like, "You're exaggerating. Bro, how about we trade bodies for a month, and you try telling me that again?" Growing up with 2 stable parents in the home. Even 1 stable parent. Heck, even a parent would be good. Hell, even a non-pack of wolves would be great. I dunno, it worked out pretty well for Romulus. Not so well for Remus, 24-7-365 of the following. Clean, drinking water. Heated water. Heated cooled indoors. Electricity. Food. Clean drinking water was my answer too. More people have died from unsafe water and poor sanitation in the past 100 years than of any other cause. Unsanitary water is the most preventable of the major causes of death in the world. Feeling safe in your own home. Not worrying about rats, mice, roaches, bed bugs, bricks being thrown through windows, violence outside, break INS. When I was younger I had multiple break INS. We knew who it was as a kid, even to the point of moving into my aunt's house, and it took months to get a new home. We struggled so bad financially. I still have paranoia of someone breaking in or watching us. I have to check doors and windows all the time. My dad keeps throwing away my stuff or shifting my stuff despite being told multiple times with reason why, without even asking or telling me. I'm already 30 plus adult living at home and Asian in Asia. I have zero sense of material security in my own room. Being conventionally beautiful. It gets you more than dates. It influences prison sentences. Attractive people are less likely to get convicted, and more likely to get lighter sentences when they are convicted. Job interviews, assessments of intelligence and academic performance are all biased to favor good-looking people. They are also more likely to benefit from kindness from strangers. Spot on. I read the stats about beautiful people being less likely to get convicted of crimes a while ago. It's nuts. And people try to force this narrative on us that everyone is beautiful. It's like saying that everyone is rich. Yeah. Instead of insisting that everyone is beautiful, we should be delinking beauty from value as a person. This is not to say that everyone isn't beautiful. Just that perceptions of beauty are slow to change.